So let's say you found the skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Jackson with Jackson number 51. The first thing that we got today is that we have a $5 super chat from Joran Dax, who says, as Carl Bob would probably say, AIG are a pouched mendacium of reproduciary organia. Jeez, that does sound like Carl Bob. We'll take a drink for that. Thank you. Oh, man. Carl Baugh, I still say he seems like an alien who was taught English by like brain implant and has never actually encountered real humans, or had never encountered them until like he came to Earth or something. It's absolutely crazy the degree to which his speech is just a bunch of gibberish that doesn't actually sometimes ever get to a main verb. I have seen that man nest like Mothra's here already. I have seen... Oh, come on, Mothra. Give me a chance to speak. No? Okay, thanks, Mothra. I have seen that man go through like 8 nested relative clauses and then just never get to an actual main verb and just stop. It's just like, what the hell? What are all these nested noun phrases for? Doesn't matter. Jackson, how you doing?
Oh, pretty good. Just had work and now I'm here.
Work? Gross.
So it's been an easy day.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I like what I do. You know, I get to see the fishies, so that's good.
That is nice. Yeah, I've been to your work and it was fun.
Yeah. You got to see the fishies, and we have more fishies since you were here, so you got to come back.
I also got to see some reptiles and some cnidarians and some arthropods.
That's true. I don't know if we had amphibians when you came, but we definitely do now.
I feel like you had some frogs when I was there, but I'm not sure.
We may have, yeah. We've got a few. We got a new one, which is an African giant bullfrog, and oh my god!
Oh, those guys are gigantic.
He's like the size of like a little plate.
Yeah.
I mean, like in terms of his like diameter, he's like a little plate. He's a fat boy.
Oh yeah,
my goodness, he's so big.
When I was there, you had some common snappers and some alligators.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was fun.
Yep.
Yeah. And you had some jellyfish, but I couldn't eat them.
Yeah, we don't have them on the menu just yet.
Okay.
Have to wait a little bit longer.
You know, I ate jellyfish when I was in Singapore.
Was it good?
I mean, the sauce was good. The jellyfish itself tasted like nothing. But the sauce was
that
good.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right, we got 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships gifted by Lieutenant Matt the Navigator. Thank you very much. I will take 5 drinks while Jackson tells you about common snapping turtles. Go ahead, Jackson.
Oh, okay. Well, what is that? Chelydra, like Serpentia or something like that,
Serpentina.
I think. Is it Serpentina?
It is.
Okay. Yeah, common snapping turtles are native to like most of like eastern and southeastern U.S. We have an individual named Darla, who, and I mean they're
all right.
omnivores,
I have
like,
finished my 5
most
drinks.
turtles are.
Everyone always thinks that it's going to take me way too long to drink the 5 drinks, and so they start in with this big like explanation at the front. Y'all should just start going. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says Carl Baugh would have learned English better, but his English teacher had a stroke by the second sentence. Jeez.
Oh, is that like the bit from the first like Saturday Night Live where the guy's like learning phrases?
Yeah,
like,
kind of. All right, so let's do our stuff that we have to get through before we actually get to the video. So a few things. One, we are here to talk about Dr. Charles Jackson's reaction to this National Geographic magazine for some reason, I guess, because that's what he brought up. But before we actually do that, there's a few things. One, we do have a super chat goal. The super chat goal is 50. It was 30, but I upped it to 50, but also lowered the requirement. So now all super chats will count. Whereas before they had to be the teal color or higher. So now if you send in like a $1.99 super chat, it'll count. I think that went well on Saturday, which is the first day I tried it out, so we're trying it out again. Also, if you were here for Saturday or the previous Tuesday stream, you will know that I have been wrestling with my computer for a while, which is also similar to what happened last month that we were here, where basically it was a whole bunch of nonsense. So I am fully expecting to have some technical difficulties today. I am expecting OBS to crash at least a few times, leaving you guys with buffering. And I'm also expecting that when that happens, I will fail to unmute or do something else wrong. So, like, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure all sorts of nonsense is going to happen. That's dumb. So please stick with me through that. I am still trying to figure out what is going on. I had to drop my computer's memory by half just to get it to be stable enough to use and to stop giving me constant blue screens of death. So, like, it's a rough time technologically over here at Casa Dino. So please bear with me. That is also why I have not done any recording. I have 2 scripts done and 1 script almost done. And I have not recorded because I am paranoid that my mic will cut out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to record them just sitting at my desk outside of the recording booth, which will lower the quality, but at least it will let me keep track of whether or not the microphone cuts out. And if it doesn't, then I'll probably be more comfortable going back into the recording booth, because I can't easily keep an eye on the recording software from the booth. So, you know. Roshina says nothing for $0.99. Thank you. And Templar Warden for 2 Kiwi bucks says English as boss spoke. Oof. Yeah, we need to make a parody of English as she spoke. Just focused on Carl Baugh. All right. So, oh, Naramdapus for $2 says Gremlins Aeont Domus. People called Gremlins, they go the home. All right. So, we'll go through the drinking rules, right? Right, Jackson?
Yes.
All right. Well, first, Lieutenant Math Navigator for $5 says, "Did you try to win your wrestling match with your computer by smiting its hip socket?" No, I don't cheat, unlike God, who cheated in that wrestling match. Or I should say I don't cheat at wrestling. Actually, I did do a little bit of wrestling in school. Not a lot. I didn't join the wrestling team. Although I did do a little bit of like the practice. I was okay, but I also just did not want to take up as much of my time as it were required to join any of the sports teams. I looked at their schedule and was like, nah, I don't want to. Not my thing. Oh well. Yeah. So, the drinking rules. Oh, wait, hold on. You know, Jackson, if they keep giving me super chats, then technically we never have to get to the drinking rules. Or the video, for that matter. Dutch Tunicate Official.
That is true.
Yeah. Dutch Tunicate Official for $2 says, a favorite vertebrate go with Godzilla. So we'll take a drink for the Godzilla. Right-handed Sith says, but do you cheat at AD&D? Well, first of all, I don't play AD&D anymore. I used to, but I don't remember ever cheating at it. I definitely don't cheat when I play D&D. As a DM, every once in a while, if I think a different die result will be more fun, I might fudge it a little bit, but I will not a lot. I might fudge it like 1 or 2 times, or something like that. But it's usually pretty minor, and I rarely do it anyway. Most sessions I don't do it ever. But I'll admit, every once in a while I fudge die roll as the GM for dramatic effect, right? Usually not in any way that will actually change the outcome of the scene, but just to make the scene be a little less boring if it's being boring, right? Like if it's like, oh, I've missed like 18 times with this guy because I've just gotten bad rolls. The next time I roll, it might be a hit just so that like something happens in the combat, right? Because a combat where one side just absolutely dominates and the other side can't do anything is usually not much fun. So sometimes I'll do a minor thing like that. Or the reverse, right? If I've just been rolling obscenely well, and it's like, okay, this is getting a little bit boring, I'll give the players a break. I might miss a roll that actually just barely hit. Maybe. But usually not. Roshina for $4.99 says, Mini Dapper gave up sports ball to become a linguist. That is inaccurate. All right, so the drinking rules. First of all, you guys have seen if we have super chats that include any of our kaiju emojis, we will take a drink for those. And to use those, you do have to be a channel member. There is a join link below this video. So that includes Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. Those count for super chats as well as membership milestone chats. So if you have one of those milestone chats where it's like, oh, so and so has been a member for 16 months or whatever, you put one of those in there, we'll take a drink. We'll also take a drink for any membership or milestone chat that says, membership, milestone, or super chat, there we go, that says anything to the effect that Answers in Genesis are a bag of dicks. You do have to be a little clever, because the YouTube likes to censor English way more than any other language, and it will censor bag of dicks. So you have to be clever there, which usually just means switching to a different language, because YouTube basically does not care at all what you say in like Spanish or French or German or anything. It doesn't give a damn. It like only cares about English. So let's see. We also will take a drink if Dr. Charles Jackson says something that's too stupid and we just have to cool our brains. We'll take a drink if Dr. Charles Jackson actually says something that's factually accurate and it's not just a citation or a quote from a citation, but instead it's actually something that is in his brain and it is correct and he says it. We'll take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink if Dr. Charles Jackson tells a joke that doesn't land or tells a story that we're pretty sure didn't happen. We'll also take a drink if Dr. Charles Jackson says or references that political party that started over in like the 1920s in Germany, rose to prominence in the 1930s, and then kind of fell off in the 40s, if you will. I think fell off is a understated but accurate description. What do you think, Jackson?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I agree.
Also, I just love that the former United States is also some of it is trying to get a Führer bunker built in the former United States. That's my favorite.
Huh.
My only hope is that it be used soon for the same purpose as the original ended up being used for. So let's see. We will also take a drink if Dr. Charles Jackson mixes up what we can know from the Skeleton Lucy about that one individual with what we can know about any wider taxon to which she belongs as a result of other finds. So, for instance, if he's like, well, Lucy wasn't found with feet, so we can't say if Australopithecus walked upright. Sorry, buddy. We found other Australopithecus feet. And yes, they did. Right-hand Sith says, so no min-max characters. Oh, I'll min-max a character, but only within the rules, right? So, like, I will come up with good builds that can do fun things that are min-maxed, but, like, I have to follow the actual rules as set out, both by the rule books, as well as any modifications that my GM has. So, for instance, if the GM is like, okay, we're only using player's handbook species. Okay, well, then I'm not going to use, like, the ooze person from the Spelljammer book. Fet0042, who's been a member for 38 months and has a awesome profile picture there, says AIG is a bag of Erebus. Yeah, no, we'll take a drink for that. Erebus is definitely a dick. Ugh, is there anyone worse than Erebus, really? It's not even his real name.
Erebus?
Yeah. The Word Bearer's apostle? Or chaplain, whatever. I guess later on he became a dark apostle. Who cares? What a dick. So yeah, we definitely took a drink for that one, Fet. Let's see. We'll also take a drink if either Jackson or I can predict what's coming. We'll also take a drink for every gifted membership, which you already saw us do. That's up to about like 30 or so. Once there's like 30 in the queue, I'm just going to finish my drink and go get another one. So that is the finish your drink trigger. I think it's the only one we have is we get 30 or more memberships that we have to take drinks for, and we haven't started yet. And yeah. So let's see. We'll also take a drink if either Jackson or I can successfully predict what Charles Jackson is going to say next when it's not very obvious. Sapphire Big Swamp Denier Light, who's been a member for 47 months, says, May 478647 soon with a Godzilla. And sure, yeah, I like it.
Here's open.
I don't think it'll happen, though. I'm pessimistic.
Probably not.
No. We'll also take a drink if I screw up the production. If OBS just crashes, then that doesn't count. If the house catches on fire and I have to end the stream, that doesn't count. If YouTube headquarters turns into a little mini black hole and falls through the center of the earth and out, that isn't my fault, and it doesn't count, as Dapper is a professional. So we don't take a drink for it. I think that's it. Roshna from 199 says Ava Braun versus Millennia. I'll be honest, I don't know enough about either person to really make a great comparison. So like, I don't know. I mean, obviously both of them are terrible. But like, if you're asking me to say which one is worse, I have no clue. I don't know, Jackson. Do you have an opinion there?
Negative.
All right, and well, also, I don't think we actually answered favorite vertebrate. That is tough, and it changes for me. For a long time, I've said elephant, but like, I'm not sure. Elephant is a really good one, and if we're picking between, then Loxodonta africana is probably my favorite elephant. Although, I mean, Loxodonta cyclotis is cool too, as is Elephas maximus. So, like, you know, it's no shade on the other elephant species. But I mean, that's probably like extant vertebrates. If I had to choose from all vertebrates ever that I'm aware of, I don't know. What do you think, Jackson?
Well, I would also choose Loxodonta africana for extant, although I do like Parasaurolophus. I think that one is quite cool.
Yeah. Okay. That is an unarguably cool dinosaur.
Yeah.
And very handy if you're playing Ark and you're just starting out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good
I've never played Ark.
It's a good early game tame in Ark. Like, you know, first you want to start with some dodos and like some Dilophosaurus, but like your first main transport animal is probably going to be Parasaurolophus. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. They have a pretty good carry weight capacity and they're reasonably fast and you know, they're fine. Cheap saddle. It's good get. Man, I hate how Wildcat just keeps killing Ark. Like, they had a money printer and they were just like, oh, what if we just destroyed it? It's like, what if you didn't? Roshina says capybara is best. Okay. Turtles are the best tetrapods, says Borg Emporia. All right. So we're going to hit play now that we've been going at this for like 17 minutes. Here we go.
There we go. Yeah. Natural selection. Now you can see. You can see me circling
nice.
it.
Very good. Yeah, see
Yeah,
that?
it's working for me. We're going to do instead today homology. Homo means same, so it's same anatomy in different creatures. Like a bird has a wing and we have arms, and they'll say that's because we both evolved from the same fish, and those front flippers turn.
No, the homology between that does not go as far back as like non-tetrapods, right? Like the common ancestor of the bird wing and the human arm was like the common ancestor of all amniotes, which I don't think you could reasonably describe as a fish unless you're just taking the strict like any kind of vertebrate is a fish. So
Also,
yeah.
Yeah, and he said homology means same anatomy, which is not what homology means.
No.
Homology refers to the fact that two structures share common ancestry. So genes can be homologous. Genes are not anatomy, or at least I don't think anyone considers genes anatomy. That'd be kind of odd. But
I mean, I guess you could if you had a super broad definition for what counts as
sure,
anatomy.
right? Yeah, like every structure within an organism is anatomy. Like, okay, I guess technically genes would be part of that. But
yeah, I can't say
it's
that's
not usually under that definition,
right. It's normally we talk about like the structures of macroscopic organisms, like multicellular organisms. But like, yeah, I guess if you have your own weird idiosyncratic definition, I can't stop you.
Yeah. Oh, we could try. We could definitely try.
We'd fail.
Into those. And vestigial organs. Organs we supposedly no longer use.
Nope. That remains not the definition of vestigial. In fact, as far as I can tell, it has never been the definition for vestigial. Vestigial organs are those which are reduced in size and or function when compared to that organ in broader taxa to which a specific organism belongs, and which no longer function for the original main function which that organ serves in those wider taxa. So, for instance, the wing of an ostrich is used in thermoregulation and courtship displays, but it sure as heck doesn't fly, and it can't. It doesn't even actually have the musculature to, like, perform the correct downstrokes and the correct extensions. And also, like, the fingers are like just absent of any kind of like connection to musculature. They're just rigid. Which I believe includes the Alula, which means that even if it did have the right like ability to downstroke and everything, it still wouldn't matter because the wings are too rigid. So that's not useless, but it's clearly vestigial. Because obviously the wider group to which ostriches belong is birds, and the main use for wings in most birds is flying. And sure, they do use them for thermoregulation, and they use them for courtship displays, and they'll use them for various other purposes, wing-assisted inline running. They'll use them for threat displays, all sorts of reasons to use wings. But clearly, the thing that they have had the most selection for is flight. And that is not what ostriches use them for. Therefore, ostrich wings are vestigial, regardless of the fact that they use them. And in fact, I'll bet if you took the wings off of an ostrich, it would do a really poor job at being an ostrich. Let's see. For $5, Lieutenant Math Navigator says, question, did he get into Mensa on an underflow error? Nice. So here's the thing about Mensa, right? As near as I can tell. One, you can take a take-home test that you can just get high enough scores on and mail it off to Mensa, and you can get into Mensa. You don't actually have to be IQ tested, even though they call themselves the high IQ group. And Jackson, do you know who Orphan Red is?
Didn't you say that was like a flat Earth like adult content creator or something like that?
Yes, she made what I believe was softcore content.
Okay.
And was also for a while reasonably well known for flat Earth content. And she successfully got into Mensa. And now this is not a reflection on the adult content creation, because I am very much of the opinion that you can be an absolute genius and produce adult content. So like, yeah, not a comment on that, but the flat Earth bit is yeah, it's you can't be intelligent and a flat earther. Like, it's just not really an option. She got in there. So like, I do not actually believe that being in Mensa is a reflection of your mental abilities. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says, I'm pretty sure an ostrich could fly with the judicious use of more boosters. That's true, but you also have to put on more stabilizing fins, right? Because Jackson, and more struts maybe. Jackson, do you know what the stages of engineering a rocket are?
I do not.
Oops. That's an error on my part. So we'll take a Dapper as a professional drink right there. Okay, so first the step is, did it go up? If the answer is no, the solution is more boosters. The second question is, did it flip over before it was supposed to? And if the answer is yes, the solution is more stabilizing fins. Maybe more thrust vectoring, but mostly more stabilizing fins. And then the third question is, did it fall apart when it wasn't supposed to? And if yes, the answer is more struts. And if you follow these simple steps to engineering a rocket, you too can have a successful career as a Kerbal space engineer. Those are, in fact, the 3 steps of Kerbal Space Engineer rocket engineering. So, yep.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep. Now, the only other thing you need to know is about Delta V and orbital mechanics and like safe tolerances for landing, things like that. And you'll be off to the races. In other words, guys, go play Kerbal Space Program, the first one, not the second one.
I've seen that meme. I think it was an XKCD comic that was like knowledge about physics, and it's like physicists and then people who play Kerbal Space Program.
It was specifically orbital mechanics, but it's kind of true, right? Like,
that's right.
If you play enough Kerbal Space Program, you will get an intuitive feel for orbital mechanics. You'll just know what needs to happen. You might not have the precise numbers and like the precise burn times, but you'll know what the basic idea is that you need to do. You'll be like, okay, I need to thrust this way. I need to change my orbital inclination this way. I need to change my orbit this way to get a good encounter with my orbital like rendezvous target. You'll just know, because you played so much Kerbal Space Program. It's kind of weird, because orbital mechanics is usually considered to be one of the least intuitive things in all of physics, at least in classical physics. And if you play enough Kerbal Space Program, you'll just get it. All right, here we go.
was in this article, and it's in the textbooks. But we now know that there aren't any organs we don't use.
First of all, we don't know that because I would argue that like the erector pili muscles for humans are not really used for anything. Those are the
Palmaris longus.
Palmaris longus. Yep. The muscles around the ear. All of those will like pull on things, but they don't do anything, right? Like your erector pili muscles. That's what gives you goosebumps. But when was the last time you looked at someone, realized they had goosebumps, and then took that as information that was important to you? Or when was the last time it helped you either intimidate someone or keep warm? Probably never. Probably never. So yeah, not really doing anything. So I'm gonna take a drink for that being stupid. But also, even if it were true that there were no organs that humans didn't use, that doesn't matter because not being used at all is not the definition of vestigial.
And so that really throws a wrench, a monkey wrench, into their entire argument.
No, Charles. You setting up a straw man of evolution and then noting that your straw man version of evolution doesn't make sense isn't throwing a monkey wrench into anything because it was a straw man in the beginning, right? Just like if I told you, like, I don't know if I can believe in Christianity because I'm pretty sure that actually having 128 books in the Bible is way too many. You might counter that there is no Christian canon with 128 books. You'd be right about that. So my objection to Christianity on the basis of it having 128 books in the Bible is dumb. In fact, it's probably dishonest because chances are I made that number up and I know it's not accurate. Roshina for $1.99 says, horses disproved orthogenesis? I mean, they certainly provided evidence against orthogenesis. But I don't know if I would say that they disproved it. What do you think, Jackson?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, yeah, orthogenesis. Well, for anyone who's not aware, orthogenesis was this idea that like there was this sort of inertia to lineages where they would like you would have natural selection for some feature, and then it would just kind of be like,
keeps getting more and more extreme.
Yep, just keeps getting more and more extreme, like Brontotherian or something like that, or horse height, or losing their toes or whatever. But
some people argue deer antler size.
Deer antlers, right? There was the claim that like Megaloceros went extinct because its antlers got too big. No, that's not true. They're actually proportional to the rest of it. But like it turned out, this idea was wrong. I mean, as we got more fossils, we for like the horse lineage, for instance, we were like, oh, actually, this lineage is way bushier than it was initially thought. There's all these different branches that split off and
don't all follow this trend.
Right, exactly. Yeah, some they went in all sorts of different directions. So
yep, I've actually been scripting a series about Walter Veith, who keeps saying repeatedly that evolution says we go from small to big, and it's like, no, it doesn't. At least not as a general rule for everything. Like some lineages seem to follow that broad rule, but sorry, Cope was wrong.
I'm like, what? Does he think just like all protists today are larger than protists in the past? Like,
I don't know,
or
man.
unicellular
Look,
eukaryotes in general. Like,
this is a man who thought that you couldn't make a cladogram of dog breeds because dogs all descended from the wolf, which seems to imply that he thinks that all dog breeds were directly derived by starting with a wolf stock and then getting Chihuahuas and getting Basset Hounds and getting Great Danes and getting Irish Wolfhounds and getting German Shepherds from an initial stock of just wolves.
That was literally an argument that like Darwin tore into in Origin of Species to be like, yeah, we all accept that dogs, and pigeons, the domesticated varieties came from a common ancestor that didn't look very similar to a lot of them because like we don't see a wolf ancestor of Dalmatians and a wolf ancestor of Chihuahuas. So that's
Right.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it was very crazy. Jason Ross, who for $5 says goosebumps are the same mechanisms as what makes a cat go floof. Wonderful, and it's true, they are. Yep. Cats also have erector pili muscles, and they're actually even similar to the muscles that allow birds to control their feather positioning. They're not, as far as I know, actually homologous. I believe they're analogous, but it's still a similar structure where you root a muscle onto some integumentary structure so that you can change its orientation on the body. Yep. So in mammals, the erector pili muscles usually are there to either take in some extra air so that can be trapped against the body for thermal insulation, which can help you either cool down or warm up depending on what's going on. And also they're there for intimidation displays, so you look physically just bigger. Neurondiputs for $2 says, "For the love of island dwarfism, facepalm." Hey, Jackson, did you know that the biggest lizard in the world, or at least the heaviest lizard in the world, it's not the longest, but the heaviest lizard in the world is probably actually an example of island dwarfism?
The heaviest lizard in the world, an example of island dwarfism.
It's the Komodo dragon.
Yeah.
They're basically dwarf megalania,
Okay.
which is crazy to
Interesting.
think about given how damn big they are.
They're pretty big.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And originally it was thought, oh, this must be an example of like Varanid Island gigantism. Nope. Turns out that's Varanid Island dwarfism, actually. Ooh.
Interesting.
Kind of scary to think about. I would not want to go to like Pleistocene Australia. Like, absolutely not. Oh, look,
You could have stopped that. You could have said, "I wouldn't want to go to Australia." You know what I mean?
current day Australia already has some pretty iffy wildlife, but like, oh man, it was a lot worse a few tens of thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Ashley says heaviest non-snake lizard. Yeah, I guess it is the heaviest non-snake lizard. Damn it, snakes! Stop being so superlative. They're the longest, the heaviest. I think. Actually, is the heaviest snake heavier than the heaviest Komodo dragon? I'm not actually super confident about
I
that
have
one.
no idea.
Oh.
No idea.
All right.
I would say. Okay, let's see. Let me get rid of that and come on. Oh yeah.
See, so much of this has been him fighting with his like PowerPoint.
Here we go. All right. So Albert Einstein said, "The important thing is not to stop questioning." So, question what I say.
Don't worry, we will.
Question what the Bible says. You're
Okay, done.
allowed. The Bible can take it and question evolution, question the compromise, question what college professors and teachers say, even if they're carrying a Bible and they're an ordained minister. Let God be true and every man be a liar.
Sure, yeah. Question all those things. I don't have a problem with that. Jackson, do you?
Nope. Sounds good to me.
All right. So looks like we're gonna go do that, including here. Lieutenant Method Navigator for $5 says that can't be true. Evolution teaches that T-Rex became chickens and their legs became wings. Oh God, I had forgotten that thing about Matt Powell saying that chicken legs were descended from T-Rex arms. What a dumbass.
I wonder what he's up to nowadays.
Well, one thing he's up to is not exposing his kids to child predators. At least not the ones at Dinosaur Adventureland.
That is a plus.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I take in so little creationist content nowadays. I have no idea what happened to him.
I was gonna say I'm jealous,
after he left the
but
compound.
then I remember what you are taking in. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not jealous.
What we were talking about right before the stream is a little rough.
Orange Dot says, I thought you were the world's largest non-snake reptile. First of all, Ceratosaurus is not even close to the largest reptile. At least not ever. And also, I said lizard, not reptile. I was very specific. Let's see. Brief search suggests the heaviest Komodo dragons are 150 kilograms, and the heaviest snakes are green anacondas, which weigh as much as 227 kilograms. Jeez! Calm down, anacondas. What the hell? That's huge. My God, what are they eating? Oh, yeah, I remember. Like, entire bovids.
Everything. The answer is everything.
Whatever the hell they want. Jeez. I say entire bovids, like in some places that doesn't mean animals the size of a small dog.
Yeah.
Remember the dik-dik. Wait, no, the dik-dik isn't a bovid, is it?
No, it's a hold on a second.
I'm thinking of the dweeker.
Hold on. Is it? I'm not even.
It's a pecorin, but I'm pretty sure it's in its own family. Like, I think it's.
Oh, dik-diks are bovids.
Are they?
Yeah, they're bovidae. Yep.
Huh.
Antilopenae. Okay.
You know what it isn't? It's muntjacs. Muntjacs aren't bovids.
Muntjac. Yeah, there's cervidae.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Olivia Williams for $6.99 says, a reminder, Einstein wasn't a Christian. Weird flex, Jackson. That's true. He was Jewish and also probably not really theistic in the way that most people mean theism. He certainly talked about a higher
Yeah.
power or a god or something, but it seemed like he meant that in a very metaphorical way and not like a personal entity that you can like pray to. It
He
was
was
like
like
a
a pantheist, right?
something like that,
Kind
yeah.
of thing, or deist maybe. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I don't know. It was
Yeah.
his beliefs about God were clearly important to him, but also not very well defined from what I can tell. Lieutenant Math Navigator for $5 says, it's crazy that Steve Irwin was playing Australia on easy mode. Oh, rip. Rip Steve Irwin. I was sad about that one. I was even
Yeah,
more
that
sad to
was-
find
that
out
was
that
sad one.
later on people went around mutilating and killing stingrays in revenge, something he absolutely would not have approved of.
Correct. Yeah, no, that was horrible. I got to meet a guy who's kind of a Steve Irwin sort of type. A few weeks ago, a guy named Coyote Peterson. Have you heard of him?
I have heard of him. I've also seen him get stung by virtually every arthropod with a stinger.
Oh, okay. I wasn't really familiar with him. And we were in over at the aquarium. We were invited to have a little booth at Scyport, and there were a bunch of other like educational and nature groups over there. And so Peterson gave he was their keynote speaker, gave a big talk and everything. We got to like socialize with him a little bit before the event started, which was kind of cool. He seems like a very level-headed, down-to-earth kind of guy. So he seems cool.
Who sometimes will let velvet ants sting him.
Yeah, take where you can. So.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I'm glad someone's doing it, and I'm glad it's not me. Because,
yeah, that's
oh boy. It's like, oh, this is called a bullet ant because it feels like you got shot when it stings you. Let's see what happens when it stings me. It's like, well, it sounds like it's going to feel like you got shot. And then it stings him, and yep, sure enough. That's what it feels like. Like, okay, cool, thanks. Oh.
But you should not stop questioning. Anyone who says that you should stop questioning me, but question everybody else, they're about to tell you a lie. They're trying to get you to swallow so they will feel better about themselves. I'm sorry, but that's what's going on. Okay. I actually did this presentation at Butler University.
I'm pretty sure he just said that anyone who tells you to trust Charles Jackson is telling you a lie. I think that's what that comes down to. Oh, hey, look, the actual topic that he came here to talk about, now that we're 29 minutes and 9 seconds in.
God.
Mm-hmm. That, like, look, it can take me a little while to get these streams going, but it doesn't usually take me 29 minutes.
That's bananas.
Yeah.
University in Indiana, in Indianapolis, and because Campbell and Reese was the textbook they were using at the time, the 7th edition. So these come from that presentation, but I've used these images and this information in a lot of different places. These were 2 editions of the same textbook from the past. I noticed that the new edition of Campbell does have a flower on the front.
Oh, have you?
Yep, I've used that edition before.
Is it good?
I mean, they're all pretty much the same. They all have the same information in them. That's what he leans into the microphone. Textbooks are a scam. Sorry.
They are.
If any of your, I'm sorry to any of your viewers, followers who are textbook writers.
I'm not.
It's still true. It's still true. Textbooks, the textbook market is a scam. Sorry.
Look, it's not the writers who are primarily in charge of like the marketing and pricing and like edition churn.
No, absolutely.
So like, if you're a publisher who is in charge of any of that stuff, you're a terrible person and you should change that. If you're a textbook writer, you're probably fine.
Yeah, you're just a little scientist who was probably asked to write a bit for this company. Yeah.
Yep. Generally speaking, I think it is always ethical to acquire low cost or free copies of biology textbooks. And also, from one edition to the next, virtually nothing changes in almost every case.
Yep.
So
they're like, we added 10 pages. It's like, yeah, but it'll be like information that's not earth shattering or really that new, or
Yeah.
or it'll be
So
something very, very minor.
if you're in school and the decision is between basically textbooks that you can't afford as the current edition and a dirt cheap last edition copy, just get the last edition copy.
Yeah.
And hook up with a friend who can help you with any kind of like page number changes or like
Mhm.
homework questions that might be assigned that might be different. And if you can't make friends in class, I don't know what to tell you. You might be at the wrong school.
Front, it's still different from the one you see there, but that's the biology textbook we're talking about, Reese and Campbell. Dr. Linus Pauling, two-time Nobel Prize winner, said, "Science is the search for the truth, the effort to understand the world."
Man, he
Dang, that is a
loves
crazy title for that article that he's citing.
No More War.
1958. Wow.
Yeah. Also, he uses this to try to denigrate, right? So he'll say something method for empirical investigation of the natural world. Like, what you mean it doesn't do anything, have anything to do with proof or truth or whatever? And it's like, just shut up, man. Just shut up. It's a stupid thing, and he knows it. He knows it's a stupid point to make.
I wish that we had listened to this article in 1958.
I was too busy being a dinosaur who didn't have anything
That's
to do with
fair.
humans.
I feel the same way about Garrett Hardin's Tragedy of the Commons. It's like, if you guys had just listened to him, we might be in a better place. But
Hmm.
nope, that wasn't profitable. So sorry.
So truth is the only thing that should matter in anything of any value. Truth in science and in religion.
Some things don't have a truth value, buddy. Like, so what do you do in that case, right? Like, if I'm like, oh, hey, what's the best color to paint my walls? There's no truth value to any answer. There are arguments you could use, but all of them ultimately come down to my subjective preferences. And my subjective preferences, it's true that they exist, but they aren't true as parts of the universe. Right? Truth values don't work for everything.
And I believe that the same truths of the universe, like when we changed Pluto to not a planet, and then we change it back again. I mean,
It was never changed back again. It was changed to a dwarf planet, and that's how it's been the whole time.
No, is this a joke? Is he making a joke or is he being serious?
I think he's making a joke, but we'll see, and then we'll probably take a drink.
like Pluto cares,
Yeah, that was a joke.
Oh,
And no one ever thought that anything about Pluto changed.
I don't know. Was he making a joke?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I understand what he's saying. Like,
He
okay,
laughed.
I hope so. Well, I mean, his point is well taken that like objects don't care what we call them, and the same thing is true about species. But like,
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I don't know if he sincerely believes that like it was just kind of like arbitrary. I don't know. Whatever. Maybe
I
he
mean,
does,
to
maybe he
some
doesn't.
extent, it was arbitrary, but there was. I have to say that the solar system had like 80 planets. Probably not.
Yeah.
So the option was like, well, we can keep Pluto a planet, but then we have to, if we're using like a fair definition, include dozens of other like, trans-Neptunian objects, or we could just reduce the number of planets by one, give a new definition to planet versus dwarf planet, and then carry on. And then kids in school don't have to memorize 80 different planets. They only have to memorize up to Neptune. And if you want to talk about Pluto, you can. It's still there. It still exists.
For now.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Don't get used to it.
I think it's okay to get used to it for now. I think it'll be a while until we actually discover that it is just an artificial body put there as the anchor point for the Karen relay station that will take us out in blue space women.
Okay.
Pluto is what it is. It's been what it has been all this time, and it really doesn't matter what we say about it. It's still there. And it's
Okay. Dapper? Hello? Dapper? Hello, hello? Apper. I don't hear anything.
Hello? Oh, there I am.
Oh, hello. I can hear you now.
That's the kind of thing that makes me worried about recording on the microphone. So, yeah. Lieutenant Math Navigator for $2 says, I put money on him having never heard of Ceres. I don't know how safe a bet that is, but it does seem like a bet that you could make. Yeah. Jackson, what do you think?
I have him never heard of Ceres? I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's the kind of thing he'd be like, I know what this is, and just to be kind of a
One of those
just
bits
be
of
like,
trivia
I'm so smart.
he likes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like he probably likes trivia, like
Okay.
because he's like, I'm a Mensa member, so
He does say that a lot. He's very
could
proud
believe
of
it.
being a Mensa member, which, like I've said, seems mostly like a club for people who like to sniff their own farts.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know that I've had Mensa members watch. I'm sorry. That you watch me doesn't make me think that it's not generally true of the organization as a whole. It might not be true of you, but it still seems like what it is most of the time that I encounter a Mensa person. Because usually what's happening is that they're saying something incredibly dumb and then saying, and I'm a member of Mensa, so you know I'm right. Not actually in those words, but basically that idea. Saying something
Yeah.
dumb and then using Mensa membership as like a claim to authority.
Or that idiot, what is it, like Chris Langan, isn't that his name? The like self-described smartest man in the
yeah.
world.
Yeah, and all of his
and there's
ideas are just some word salad.
that, and he's just like a Trumper, basically. That's like listening to him talk is like, oh, he's just a run-of-the-mill Republican. Okay.
Yep.
And then there's a new guy who's doing that kind of stuff. He's like Professor something or other. He's like a Holocaust denier.
Yeah, isn't he like from Hong Kong or something originally?
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, he's like, he denies that the Holocaust happened. He's got his own theory of everything, of course. And
Yeah, and he also was
there's
like, "Oh,
always
I predicted that the Iran war wouldn't go well for the United States." And it's like, wow, who could have possibly foreseen that?
gestures that last 70 years of U.S. Iran interactions. Who could
Right.
have possibly?
Jeez. Wow. Great. What wonderful insight, my guy. Zerulon, who's been a member for 30 months, says the gremlins are eating Dapper. Sadness. It is sad. Honestly, I'm not sure what the microphone deal is. I tried switching it to a different USB port. I might try switching it to yet another different USB port and seeing if it's just the USB port that's the problem. I really hope it's not any part of the microphone, because this is a damn expensive microphone that I do not want to have to replace. And even if it's like the preamp, that's also still like $130. So yeah. Everything's falling apart here at Casa Dino. First it's the AC,
No.
then it's the computer, then apparently I guess my microphone. I don't freaking know. Yeah, it's good times.
Still doing just what it's doing. It's our little wonderful definitions. The universe doesn't change according to who wins some debate. Somebody could.
Yes, but in debates that aren't just about what to call things, but they're actually about scientific principles. Debates in the literature can help us get at what the universe is actually like. Right? Because we're debating about how best to interpret the data in order to make predictions about future data in order to gain information about the universe. Which is not what's happening when we're debating whether or not to change the definition of planet. So this is just Charles Jackson conflating arguments about definitions with arguments about the actual data. Let's see. Orange Dot says, maybe the mic needs a machine spirit debug. Look, right now on my throne wish list, which should be linked in the description, the featured item is Starforged Adeptus Mechanicus Thurible. So, if you want to help me propitiate the machine spirits, that might be the most direct way to do it. I'm pretty sure that will help me troubleshoot, because it will help calm the machine spirits. Right, Jackson?
Exactly.
Yep. Jackson knows all about the machine spirits. And then Fits of Rage says,
Yeah.
Professor Jiang? That sounds right, but I
Yes.
honestly don't remember. Oh, well, I guess
I
it is.
think that's his name. Yeah, that guy's an idiot.
All right, here we go.
lose a debate and still be right because the other person's a faster talker or something. Well, let's take a look in the textbook at page 431, vestigial organs.
Okay.
Turns out none of them are useless.
Which, again, doesn't matter, right? It's like, I remember back in 2016, which is one of those times that the winner of the popular vote for the president of the United States did not win the election overall, right? I remember a lot of people saying, well, he didn't really win. It's like, yes, he did. It's like, well, I hate the Electoral College. It doesn't matter if you hate it. That's how it works. And so until it changes, what the popular vote is doesn't actually matter. And I had to say this to many, 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 many people. Because I didn't like the results either. Of course, I wasn't going to be terribly happy with the, a Hillary Clinton presidency either. So it was a pretty shitty election for me. But, yeah, I had to point out that that's not how we check to see who's the president, is who got the most individual votes in all the states put together. Just like we don't check to see who had the most running yards to see who won a football game. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant. So, yeah. Zerolon still has... So, Dapper still has Amazon wish link. I do not have... Oh, I do have the link for the Amazon? Why is that? You know what? I will change that during the break. I will switch that over. Oh, it also has a Bent's Amazon wishlist, which isn't even like a real thing anymore. That is weird. Huh. Well, thank you for alerting me. I will fix that. So, like, I do appreciate that being fixed. It was fixed on my channel page, so there is that. Yeah, I thought I had changed all that. Weird. Huh. Oh, well. Actually, you know what? It should be fixed as of now. So check again, reload maybe, and check again and see if it is in fact the Throne wish list, because I don't want it to go to Amazon. Not that some of the things on the wish list aren't from Amazon anyway, but whatever.
Caleb, could you go ahead and just mention some useless organ you've heard evolutionists say, wow, that's a throwback from back in the days when we were fish and worms and lizards?
You don't have any organs like that.
No, you don't.
Caleb?
Also, Caleb has no response, apparently.
Caleb, can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I had
so
muted myself.
Go ahead and name one of
Caleb's a professional. Take a drink. I'm just thirsty. Okay. All right. Jillian Wren says, hashtag buy Dapper a Thurible. You know what? There's actually one thing I don't super like about that Thurible, which is that it's designed for direct burn incense. So like the incense cones. And I find that indirect burn incense is my preference. I don't know if you've ever used that, Jackson. But
I don't do candles or incense or anything like that.
Have you ever been to a Catholic mass with incense?
Yes.
That incense was indirect burn. I find it has a less acrid odor, and it's a more smooth odor overall.
Okay.
Because with direct burn, the actual fire itself, the smolder actually, is contained within the incense. So you're getting a mix of the scent chemicals from the incense as well as just the direct smoke from whatever smoldering. Whereas with indirect burn, usually what's happening is you have some smoldering charcoal below the incense, which is just purely heated by the charcoal. And because they're not mixed together, the charcoal itself doesn't actually release much. It's almost entirely just the vaporized chemicals from the actual incense. And so it's less acrid. And I prefer it a lot. So
That's
who
fair.
knows? Maybe I'd make slight modifications, like put some like foil at the bottom of it so I can form a little reservoir for like a charcoal briquette or even powdered charcoal, and then like keep the wire mesh on top, and then just place bits of like, I don't know, in like myrrh crystals or something. Not actually crystals, but they look like crystals, so whatever. Lieutenant Math Navigator for $2 says, I feel like his frontal lobe is vestigial. Yeah, that's fair. Also, sorry for getting into a weird like sideline about like incense.
Dapper, it's your show. You can do whatever you want.
That's true, but I don't think people were here for like Dapper's take on incense.
I mean, I feel like we always, go into some little twists
true.
and turns while doing this show, whether it's language or culture or religion or whatever.
That's true. It is true. Yeah.
Those organs that are supposed to be useless throwbacks from our evolutionary past.
Just get a hookah. I don't want to inhale the smoke directly into my lung for like chemical effects. I just want to propitiate the machine spirits.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about the appendix is always mentioned as one. And let me see. I think a lot of people appeal to the reason that we get wisdom teeth taken out is evidence of vestigial organs.
Wisdom teeth are sort of kind of vestigial. It's a little bit weird because like when they do come in and don't crowd out the teeth, they work just perfectly fine as teeth, right?
Yeah.
Like my human suit, I managed to get the one of the editions that has inline non-crowded wisdom teeth. So like not vestigial at all. Jillian just ran says, "Well done, preferring myrrh to frankincense." I actually do. Myrrh is nicer. I don't know. I've had both. I've also had both mixed, and like that was okay. And like, don't get me wrong. Frankincense is nice too, but myrrh is better. So yeah.
Unless I'm understanding that wrong. I'm even looking at a website right now, scienceoxford.com.
Don Giovanni says, "We're here for Dapper's takes on everything other than the video." Well, the easiest way to do that is to send me like a $1 super chat that gets me off on a tangent.
That's fair.
Because I'll just keep going.
What?
No cheating.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and actually those two that I listed, wisdom teeth, appendix, are on there. Ear muscles.
I really want to know if Charles Jackson can give us the actual purpose behind ear muscles. And if he just says, well, you know, they do actually move the ears a little bit, I will take a drink for that being dumb. Because while it's true, that doesn't help with anything.
Yep. Nope. You are definitely not turning your ears in the direction of sound.
No, they are not helping you pinpoint the direction that sound is coming from by turning your ears that way.
They have several things listed.
Yeah, it's not just in people. They'll find.
Naranda puts for $2 says, what actually is direct versus indirect burn? So assuming that we're still talking about incense, which is the context there. So a direct burn is actually where whatever is burning, right? Because you need something that can easily oxidize. Usually it's some kind of like charcoal product or something like that. So a direct burn will have the actual burning substance that is going to be smoldering mixed in with the incense. So you light it on fire, and then you put that fire out and you let it smolder. And so the incense itself is directly in contact with whatever it is that's smoldering. Indirect has a physical separation between the two. And so the incense only releases the odor because it gets hot, but it doesn't get hot as a result of being mixed in with the charcoal or whatever else you're using. It gets it by basically just being nearby and having that indirect heat transfer. So church thuribles usually use an indirect, at least in my experience, usually use an indirect burn incense, where like you couldn't actually just take the incense and set it on fire and have it actually be effective. You have to put it in contact or near something that's all actually hot, and then it will release that smoke. So for instance, if you put it on a frying pan and turn the fire on, you would get it to make it the smell. You don't actually have to set the incense itself on fire. Which I'm not recommending that you do, actually. That doesn't seem like a great use. And I don't know what it would do to your frying pan. So, like, I don't know. Get a thurible. They're not that expensive.
Find these fossils that seem to have, they have these back legs on them, and they'll say, well, this was the transition between a wolf and a whale.
No one will say wolf, because wolves are not on the ancestral line to whales. It's a transition between a basal artiodactyl and a whale. So let's take a drink for Charles Jackson saying wolf, which is dumb.
Yeah, I think what he's maybe referring to is like the old idea that Mesonicids were considered ancestral,
which also weren't wolves.
Right, they weren't wolves, but people would say, like, oh, well, they're kind of wolf-like, because what's his name? That idiot. Long story short, was like, they call the ancestors of whales raccoon, hippo, wolf critters. It's like these are all just analogous things to try to help you understand what they look like. We're not saying it was any of those things. Freaking dummies.
Yeah,
God,
the
these
word
people are
like
just such
is
idiots.
there for a reason. Right-handed Sith says, so indirect burn is like the simmer pots that use a tea light candle under it. Yes, actually, that is the same basic idea. Is whatever is producing the scent is not directly in contact with the burning object or substance, but it is getting heated by it. Fear Floating Rocksmonger says, what is it with evolution deniers and thinking Pakicetus looks like a canine? I honestly just think it's having read something like that, like wolf-like in some paper or pop sci article or something like that, and then they just ran with it, and they did not bother to think that maybe that's not what it actually meant, was that it was an actual wolf.
They have never looked at the fossil. Like, guarantee they have only looked at drawings, diagrams of it, but they have never actually looked at a skeleton of Pakicetus, because if you do for even a moment, you'd be like, oh, this isn't like a wolf at all. You know?
Even Indohyus, which is perhaps more wolf-like in that it's more like a generic mammal, is still not very wolf-like at all.
No, yeah, like, tell me, how many wolves have a pulley like astragalus? None. The answer is none. You know, it's like,
you
how
think
many have
any
teeth?
of them can check on that?
Okay, no, that's fair. But like, how many of them have like that skull shape? How many of them have these
hooves,
teeth that are obviously shaped for for like hunting fish? And like, it's just
or hooves. How many of them? How many wolves have hooves?
Or hooves.
Yeah,
it's all so dumb. Oh my god.
Lieutenant Math Navigator for $2 says wolf, noun, any fuzzy animal with teeth. Yeah, basically.
Or a deer and a whale.
Well, deer is closer, but it's still not a pecorin even. So like, it's in Whippomorpha. The closest thing is actually the hippo. But if you were to see it, like if you were actually see Indohyus, it really wouldn't look like any modern artiodactyl. It would have hooves, so there'd be that similarity. But overall, it would be like sitting around at like riverbanks, catching fish in the water. Like, it would not resemble any modern animal that you could really point to today.
Or a hippopotamus and a whale. And these are...
Now, hippopotamus is the closest he's come so far. Still not really true, because what actually is the case is that hippos and whales share a common ancestor. But like, whatever.
3 theories they really have about how air-breathing whales evolved from...
No, we're taking a drink. That is not 3 different theories that we have. That is you, Charles Jackson, being wrong in 3 different ways about the one theory for the origin of whales. So let's take a drink there. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says, I'm not convinced Dr. Jackson could reliably locate the skull on a skeleton. I think he probably could, but maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen him do it.
Also, the nostrils. Like, the nostrils, not in the right place. It's just,
land walking creatures. And so they'll say, well, it's an organ that didn't have any use anymore.
No, I'm not going to say that those back legs didn't have any use anymore. What I'm going to say is that they didn't help support the animal's weight on land and facilitate locomotion. I'll say that because I'm pretty darn confident that what are we looking at here? Dorodon?
Looks like it. Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Dorodon wasn't pushing itself around on land with those tiny little legs. Pretty sure. And those hip bones that didn't actually connect to the spine and therefore couldn't actually support weight. Yeah, pretty sure it wasn't doing that. Was it using them for mating? For? I don't know. Seems reasonable to me. But that it was used for that, or it might have been used for that, doesn't make it not vestigial. Sapphire, Big Swamp Denier Light for $5 says, Jackson, you weren't supposed to look up actual examples of vestigial organs. Now I need to distract you with fossils. Oh, it's true.
But these organs, like the boa constrictor, it has these little, the males have these little spurs on them that come out from the
hip bones. You can say it. It's fine. It's true.
I think it comes out from the spinal cord.
Nope. It comes from the hip bones. comes from the hip bones, which themselves, again, don't actually have a strong connection to the spine, just like in whales, because their legs, Chuck, their legs. You don't have to like it, but they are. In fact, they even develop. And here's a fun thing about both snakes and whales. Embryologically, they both form 4 limb buds, like all other tetrapods. Why did God create whales and snakes such that they follow the general tetrapod development, including the development of limb buds that will never actually turn into limbs? Why is that? It's almost
So odd.
Yeah, it is odd. Although actually,
Or
it's
tooth
even.
buds.
Yeah, or tooth buds like that baleen whales grow. They never actually really grow into teeth. Yeah, it's almost like this is a remnant of the evolutionary history where the loss of limbs actually happened as a result of tweaking embryological development in both lineages in different ways with different limbs. And then we have fossils of animals that are clearly part of this lineage. I don't think even Charles Jackson is going to argue that Dorodon has nothing to do with whales. And they actually have all 4 limbs, but in reduced form. Weird. So it's almost like this actually is compelling evidence for evolution.
Certainly exits the body. And as you look, this shows when snakes used to have legs, but these spurs do have a function.
Yeah, and it's not locomotion. That's why we call them spurs, and we don't normally just call them legs, even though they are.
They're used as claspers during mating.
I usually like to restrict the word clasper in terms of mating to like the intromittent organs of male chondrichthyans, but like whatever, it's fine.
And so we creationists from a biblical worldview would say that this creature, when it lived, probably used those legs, those flippers there, as claspers. They didn't need to be as developed as a hind leg on a cow or something.
Okay, so here's the hypothesis. These were used to basically help maneuver the genital slits of the 2 whales together. Okay, that's, you know what? I think that is a reasonable hypothesis. What do you think, Good Jackson?
But yeah, it does that now, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right? But here's the question I do have. Why does that require ankle bones and toe bones and all that anatomical complexity for what are basically just unjointed rods that stick out of the side of the whale that can kind of help nudge a whale to one side or the other when they're trying to align their genitalia together for mating purposes? Why does it require all that anatomy? Why does it just have the anatomy of a foot and a leg? Because even snake claspers
That is a
don't.
good question.
Yeah, the snake spurs, they don't even have that much anatomy, right? There's a hip bone, and then there's like a couple more bones, and then there's a claw. It's not even clear exactly which bones you're looking at in the leg bones. They're obviously leg bones, but like, do they actually have like is that actually like the like the femur there? Is that actually like the tibia and the fibula, or perhaps even the tibula if you're Nephilim free? Or is that like, does it just have like a tibia that ends in a claw? We don't know. So why is it that even in Dorodon we have this full leg anatomy? Weird. And also, what are you going to do with modern whale legs? Because inside the body wall of modern whales, there's still some vestigial leg bones that don't actually connect to the genitals for like muscular attachment points, unlike the hip bones. So what are those there for, there, Chuck? Because I can guarantee you that a modern sperm whale is not using the embedded femur or whatever it is to help nudge its mate around. Because it can't, because they don't extend out of the body wall.
Because they were never functioning like that.
Oh, you know what I just realized? We are due for our quick break and drink refresh, which is good. because I am down to some somewhat lukewarm beer at the bottom of this glass. So we will go get some more drinks. We will be right back in just a few minutes. And at the risk of jinxing it, hey, OBS has stayed steady so far. So maybe my computer is figuring itself out. I don't know. I still don't trust it. Its machine spirit has become cantankerous of late. So, Jackson, at some point we got to induct you into the cult of the machine.
Okay.
Machine God. Yeah, we got to do
I'm
your
down.
initiation. I mean, you weren't using your eyelids, were you?
I was just thinking about that actually, about how I could donate them if
You
necessary.
don't even need to donate them. We can just put them into some farm plot or something as fertilizer, and then give you
Oh,
nice
okay.
protective coverings over your eyes, like a snake or a gecko, except made of pure and inorganic materials like steel and glass.
Okay.
And you'll
Sure.
never have to
Why
miss
not?
anything that happens. And we'll give them a little iris so that you can shut them for nighttime.
Okay.
All right, everybody, we'll
Great.
be right back. Hey, everybody, we are back. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says, yes, the famous cursorial cacalots of Patagonia. Yes, of course. Oh, those sperm whales just running all over the place. All right, so before we get back to the video, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for everyone who has super chatted, everyone who has sent in gifted memberships, all of that stuff. It really is important. It is a huge deal to the channel. The channel lives or dies based on support. I was actually looking at my So when you have a YouTube channel that's monetized, you get a lot of like analytics. You get a lot of stats that you can look at on your channel. And I was actually looking at the revenue stats, and it turns out that memberships on their own are something like 40% of what this channel brings in from YouTube, and that super chats, including super stickers and super thanks and whatnot, are like another 30%. It's a huge deal. So I want to say thank you so much to everyone who's done that. If you are someone who likes what I do and you are not currently supporting financially and you can afford to, which is an important caveat there, I don't want money you can't afford. But if you are in that category, if that Venn diagram converges on you right there.
Dapper? Dapper? Hello? Hello? Dapper? Can't hear you, Dapper. Oh, there you are.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, there are a number of ways that you can help support the channel in cases like that. So there is the channel memberships that starts at $1.99. There is the Patreon that starts at $1. The Patreon also gets a 15% discount if you go annually. Both of them give you early access to my scripted videos. Both of them give you access to my Discord server. Both of them will get you your names in the credits at the $5 or above level, not at the $1 or $1.99 level. So if you're at the $1 level or the $1.99 and wondering why your name isn't in the credits, it's because that's not actually a perk at that level. So yeah, failing that, there is in fact also the wish list, which I have apparently updated now, so hopefully it'll be more accurate. There is also, I have a merch store, and also you can help me render videos. So when I have a video that needs to get 3D animation rendered, the way that I do that is actually by uploading my frames to a render farm called Sheepit. And there are instructions down in the description for how you can help me render on Sheepit by pretending to be me, basically. There is a render key down in the description and a username. Basically, you download the Sheepit client, you open it, you put in that username and that render key, and it will give me the points that you earn when rendering. So yeah, basically that will give my frames a higher priority when I need to render them. And also, if I'm rendering them and you can render them and you're also rendering on Sheepit, you will get my frames directly. So you can directly render for me as opposed to indirectly, which is more typically what happens. All right, that is enough of commercial stuff. Jackson, you got anything you want to say before we get back into it?
Dapper's the best.
Thank you.
That does not mean that this creature used to walk on the land. Another one is the tailbone. Here's a Calvin and Hobbes. I always say you can't teach science without Calvin and Hobbes.
You can, though. You can.
I do it.
Yeah.
I've never used a Calvin and Hobbes or comic in any of my classes.
Oh wait,
So-
that was a joke that didn't land. Weird. All right.
You look at me, it's clear that my genes contain the evolutionary perfection of earthly DNA. I am the culmination of creation.
And Hobbes says, with no tail? I don't think so.
Stop that. My butt doesn't need aesthetic enhancement.
So that's another one of those vestigial organs. It's called the tailbone.
Yep. Because the coccyx doesn't support a tail. So it's not doing the primary thing that caudal vertebrae do in other mammals. So it's vestigial. So wait, is the whole lie just going to be that vestigial organs exist? Because that's not a lie. That's just true. What's actually happening is that Charles Jackson is either unaware of or lying about the definition for vestigial. Is that just what the lie is?
No los dos.
Right? Well, it could be both, yeah.
Of course, it's not a tail at all. It's the coccyx.
It is a tail because it is the extension of the spinal cord that goes past the hip bones. They are the caudal vertebrae. That's what that is. They don't extend out of the body wall in apes, but doesn't make it not a tail.
Which is the end. And as Dr. Dwayne T. Gish once said, can you think of any better way to end the spinal column than that?
I can't think of a better way, but I could think of a way that isn't a tail, which would be to end it with the sacral vertebrae, which are the vertebrae anterior to the coccyx. That would be a way to end it that wouldn't be a tail. So if I were a god who was like, okay, I want to make sure that my creations know that they didn't evolve from apes, or monkeys more broadly. I probably shouldn't make it seem like they actually used to have ancestors with tails, so I won't give them a tailbone. I don't know. That seems kind of reasonable to me. What do you think, Jackson?
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, there's no point for there to be a further extension of the spine if we didn't evolve from chordate ancestors who also had that.
You know what I realized? It could
What?
be the cord connecting my microphone to my computer. So I might try with a different cable and see if that helps with the microphone later on when I'm recording audio. Because maybe that'll help. Fingers crossed that it's just the cable, which would be by far the cheapest thing to replace.
I mean, actually, it's not useless. If you didn't have
Uselessness is not a criterion for vestigiality. That's just not one of the things that's required. But you're right, it's not useless. It's a muscle attachment point for several muscles of like the pelvic floor.
your tailbone, you and I are both sitting right now. We'd be in terrible pain if that bone didn't actually wrap around. If you look on the left there.
That's not true. People who have their tailbones removed can sit just fine. Now, if you bruise or break your tailbone and then try to sit, that will in fact be painful. Very painful in some cases. So, like, I don't recommend that. And also, if you have to have your coccyx removed, the bodily functions that are facilitated by the muscles that anchor there will be harder, which includes things like remaining continent. So, like, you know, don't get it removed if you don't have to, but you'll be able to sit.
And come underneath you for you to sit on it. Plus, the muscles for controlling your bowel movements from your rectum are anchored at
That wasn't on my end. That was in the video.
the coccyx, the tailbone. Also, the muscles.
He's right about that. We'll take a drink. Okay.
For women pushing babies out in parturition or childbirth are anchored on
Same claim. We're not going to take a second drink for it.
the coccyx. And your abs hold in your guts from the front, but behind you, the ribs don't go down that far. You have a sheet of V-shaped arrangement of muscles that come up from the tailbone, anchored to the tailbone. They're very important. They hold your guts in from behind.
Again, if you didn't have a tailbone, if it was removed, your intestines aren't going to spill out from your butt. It's just not what's going to happen. Like, it's not as important as he's saying here. I still don't recommend you get it removed unless you need to.
And you always hear about people having lower back pain. Those are very important muscles, and they are anchored at the tailbone. Don't say it's useless.
I'm not saying it's... Who's saying it's useless, Jackson?
I don't know anyone who's saying it's useless.
Okay.
And all these other supposedly useless organs, and it just, if they would just use real science, I wouldn't be so upset.
Okay, Chuck, this is your slide. You've on there, you've got leg bones as well as hip bones on a mysticete, a baleen whale. What are they for? What are the leg bones specifically for? Not the hip bones, because I know what they're for. What are those leg bones doing? Do you know? Because I do. And it's not helping facilitate reproduction, because that's what the hip bones are doing. What are the leg bones doing, buddy? Think he has an answer for me?
Probably not.
No, I don't think so either.
Instead of a bunch of, pseudoscience or bad stuff. Like you mentioned.
My God, this man is a champion projectionist. Yeah, we don't want any pseudoscience in here, he says, while misdefining everything. Which, by the way, coming up with your own non-standard definitions for scientific terms is one of the hallmarks of pseudoscience.
Yep.
The appendix. Well, that's a really thick line. There it is. Your appendix, they say, is useless. Well, you can live without it. That
They
does
don't say
not
that.
mean
Yep.
it doesn't have a function.
I
It
sure do live
immunizes
without it.
against certain.
Wait, you haven't died?
Well, hold on. No, okay, I'm still good.
Oh, man. I thought maybe you were like a vampire or something.
I mean, I watched Sinners and I thought that's pretty hot. I'd do it. I
Yeah?
joined the gang.
From the gang, even though they all
Good.
died at the end, for real.
Almost all of them did, not all of them.
I suppose that's true. Yeah, 2 of them managed to not.
Yeah.
That's fair. Spoilers for sinners, I guess.
I would join Michael B. Jordan and Haley Steinfeld.
Wait, didn't True Blood take place in like Louisiana or something?
Yeah, it was in like a little bit east of, it was like Houghton area, I believe, is where
Okay.
it was. So it's like a little bit east of Shreveport.
So like you got like vampires like just in the culture around there, is what I'm hearing.
We do. I
Okay.
mean, freaking oh gosh, what were they called? Eternals. They went to New Orleans, so that's,
There you go,
that's
yeah,
also
see?
Louisiana. So I watched Vampire Diaries. I saw it.
Strain of polio in the unborn. It also, before your bones begin making red blood cells when you are unborn, your appendix makes red blood cells.
I have never heard that, and I don't know if it's true.
That's
doesn't
no,
sound
hold
right.
on. I don't believe that, because your all of your blood cells are made by your bone marrow. I mean, okay, I guess we have the internet right here. Let's.
Yeah, check
Does
it
your
out.
appendix,
I'll hit play, but I'm pretty sure
he said appendix make
red blood cells.
embryonic red blood cells?
Yeah.
The appendix also, we now realize, is very vascularized with lymph vessels. So it's very, very in tune with your immune system, like the adenoids and the tonsils. Those are immune system organs.
I'm actually going to agree that the tonsil isn't vestigial because it still basically does the thing it does widely in mammals.
Oh,
just not great at it.
okay. So there is a thing. Okay, so the answer is no. It does not do this. There is a thing, however, called extramedullary hematopoiesis, which is associated, which occurs in the appendix associated with myelodysplastic syndrome. So you have hemopoietic tissue that can occur in the liver and spleen, and I guess also the appendix, but it's a condition. It's not supposed to do that.
Of course.
So I guess he looked up or maybe heard about this and is like, so it produces, and doesn't even say necessarily just embryonic, it just says.
Imagine thinking a
says
pathological
hematopoietic
condition
tissue.
is actually the purpose of an organ.
Yeah, that's what
It's
he's
like,
arguing.
You know
right
what your
now.
gallbladder is? It's a place to keep all those stones.
Yep.
It's so dumb. I'm taking a drink for that. That is insane. Man, without a gallbladder, where would you keep all your gallstones?
Yep, got to keep your kidney stones,
Yeah, you
in
gotta keep
your,
them somewhere.
You might
My
as well
goodness.
store them in your ureter,
If I didn't have fingernails, then I couldn't get hangnails. I need the
That's
hangnails.
true.
It's so important.
It's
Oh,
like
he's
your
so
lymph.
dumb.
It's that, yeah. That's my God.
Nodes are, and they're very important. They have a function. Sure, you can live without your tonsils and your appendix. I could live without my right arm too. Doesn't mean that it's useless.
Yep. No one's saying that any of those organs are useless. We used to say that at least the tonsils and the appendix were useless. Turns out that was wrong. It also doesn't change them into not being vestigial, although, like I said, I would argue that tonsils aren't vestigial because their purpose in basically helping prevent infections is still something they do, just not well.
And these legs, they so-called leg bones in living whales today. Nope, that's not vestigial.
I mean, it is, because that animal right there, which is a baleen whale, like I said, is not walking around on those.
Both male and
Like,
female.
He acknowledges that they're legs.
Well, he did say so-called
Like-
legs, so maybe he doesn't.
Okay, maybe. I mean, I don't know what else he would have to make the positive claim that they are in fact not leg bones, I guess, which good luck. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, given that they develop from the hind limb buds, yeah, good luck indeed.
Female whales, the muscles for the reproductive system, the structures of their reproductive systems are anchored on those bones.
Nope, they're specifically anchored on the pelvic bones, where they're anchored in other mammals. But they're not anchored on the leg bones, which are not the same bones. You can actually see, if you look very carefully, that he has at least 3 bones in his inset there. 2 of them are leg bones. Only one of them is actually a hip bone, and that's what the muscle's attached to. So let's take a drink for him not actually having a reason for whales to have legs, even if he does have a reason for them to have pelvises. Which means that whale legs actually do meet his restrictive definition for vestigiality. And the whale hips meet the definition for vestigiality that, actual scientists use.
And notice that these bones have no connection to the spinal column. They are not meant to support weight.
Okay.
That's true.
I need to take a little bit of a breath. So give me a second. I'm going to do some breathing exercises. Okay, Chuck. I know you're probably not going to watch this, but you never know. You might watch this. I need you to understand something. The fact that they don't connect to the spinal column means that they can't support weight. And supporting weight is the primary function of the sacral complex there, right? In most tetrapods. That's what the sacrum does, is it supports weight. It transfers weight from the legs to the spine. So the fact that they don't connect to the spine is evidence that they are vestigial. Not that they're not vestigial. Because by not actually having a skeletal connection to the spine, it makes them incapable of doing the big thing that hips do, which is to transfer weight from the legs to the spine. So Charles, you're getting it exactly backwards here in terms of what is evidence for or against whale hips being vestigial. And I'm going to take a drink for him getting it exactly backwards. And sorry, I was trying not to yell because that was real dumb. I don't know if you could tell. Real dumb.
They support the reproductive organs for the males and the females, and the muscles for calving baby whales are anchored here. And
that still counts as reproductive organs. Does he think that birth isn't part of the reproduction process for mammals?
Do you really want to know the answer?
No, I don't want to know the answer because the answer is probably yes, and I'll just feel bad about that. Oh my God.
your wisdom teeth, you mentioned the wisdom teeth.
I actually think that this is an iffy one for vestigiality myself, but whatever.
Good prompting for me there, Caleb. But the wisdom teeth, we say, oh yeah, here's what happened. We were apes and we had these.
No, we are apes. We've been over this many times, Charles. We are apes is the correct phrasing there. Not for me, obviously, because I'm a dinosaur and not an ape. But, for all the humans.
These big giant jaws with these big giant teeth. And then we evolved and our jaws became little frail human jaws. And we couldn't handle those big ape teeth anymore.
So the need to have wisdom teeth removed has less to do with genetic evolution and has more to do with behavioral patterns in humans. So people who still eat, people groups that eat diets that are full of really tough foods, so things like tough roots, or who incorporate things like bone into diet and where they actually are going to gnaw and chew on that, they tend to have wider jaws with more room for teeth, and their wisdom teeth tend to erupt just fine. Whereas people who eat a larger proportion of easy-to-eat softer foods, which includes a lot of people in places where urbanization is big, and where processed foods are big, they tend to have, and by processed I just mean heavily processed, because all foods are processed, they tend to not develop the strong, wide jaws of other human groups. So, for instance, natives of Australia who are still eating the diet that was common before Europeans, and as well as hunter-gatherer groups in Africa and South Asia and Oceania and the Amazon, they tend not to have problems with their wisdom teeth. Whereas people who live in lots of cities, Americans, most Europeans, Canadians, Mexicans, people living in the cities in Brazil, they tend to have problems with their wisdom teeth because of behavioral changes. Because there's this thing called phenotypic plasticity, which is to say that your
Dun, dun,
phenotype
dun.
is not entirely derived from your genotype, but in fact, life history has an effect on your phenotype, which you can just see by going to the gym, right? If you go to the gym and lift a lot and you get big muscles, well, guess what? That's your phenotype changing. Big deal. So that is why I am not really a big fan of saying that wisdom teeth are vestigial, because it's basically a behavioral pattern that makes them a problem. Yeah. So, but I can see why other people might disagree with me. So I'm not going to take a drink for this being incredibly stupid. I'm just disagreeing with this particular conclusion on an area where I think you can actually have disagreement among reasonable people arguing in good faith. I don't know. Jackson, do you have any disagreements or agreements or anything else?
I mean, you summed it up pretty well, I think.
Okay.
So obviously God didn't make us, or he wouldn't give us wisdom teeth.
I actually don't think that's a good argument. I would not use that as an argument for bad design in humans, because again, it's behavioral, and the diets and behaviors that humans have been doing for most of their history worked just fine with wisdom teeth.
So they're saying that we have to have them pulled because, they're useless and they just cause trouble. It's an evolutionary throwback. Well, if evolution is so good, then as soon as we gradually, over millions of years, we got that smaller human jaw, why didn't evolution simultaneously take care of those wisdom teeth and get rid of them?
That's because the change to having jaws that were too small for wisdom teeth happened over the course of about 10,000 years and not over millions and millions of years. So that's why it hasn't been long enough. And also because we now have good dental technology where we can pull problematic wisdom teeth, it's no longer really a big selection pressure, right? No one's likely to die and not reproduce because of their wisdom teeth. So there isn't really a mechanism by which natural selection could remove them, because it's happened so recently and we so quickly developed technology to stop them from being problems. But I'm sure there was a period between the development of modern dental technology and when humans started having wisdom teeth that were a problem, where some people did actually die as a result of wisdom teeth. That seems quite possible. In fact, dental problems were a big cause of death in places like ancient Egypt, where a lot of people died because of tooth decay that caused things like sepsis, because it spread into the bloodstream, because their diet was full of things like sand mixed into the bread, because good luck getting sand to not be in your bread when you're a Bronze Age Egyptian farmer surrounded by sand on all sides in Egypt. So yeah, it probably was a selection pressure for a little while, but only a few thousand years. So that's why. Let's see. Fear Floating Rocksmonger says he's literally just restating the mechanism for why vestigial organs exist as evidence that something isn't a vestigial organ. I mean, yeah, that's a good point there.
Look, the truth is, 100 years ago, maybe 150 at this point, people needed those teeth. In the first place,
it's going to depend on, again, your life history. But there are still people who need those teeth.
We chewed harder food that you had to chew.
He's getting it right.
Chewier, you had to chew more.
Take a drink for
and you'll develop those muscles by exercise, but you'll also develop the bones they're attached to. We probably had heavier jaws back in the day.
No, we definitely did. Human skulls are not unknown from the archaeological record. I don't know if Charles Jackson knows this, but you find skulls, we can measure what's up.
And we had room for those teeth. Plus, by the time you were 18 or so, when your wisdom teeth came in, you'd probably already, because of bad dental care, you'd probably already lost a couple of teeth.
That's potentially true, but they would have to be molars in order for wisdom teeth to be a replacement. If you lost a canine tooth or an incisor, wisdom teeth aren't going to help you out with that. So this explanation is not so good. But what's more likely than you losing a tooth is that some of your molars were starting to wear down and no longer had high cusps, which meant that wisdom teeth were a good thing to have come in so that you had better chewing capability. Not so much because you lost teeth, but because your teeth were more worn. So, I don't know. Does he get like half a point for that one?
I give him a fourth.
A fourth of a point? Okay.
Just because I don't like him.
That's fair. That's very fair. Lieutenant Math Navigator for $2 says human skulls aren't sauropod skulls. It's true. Unlike sauropod skulls, human skulls are actually very common to find in places where you would find human remains anyway. Yeah. It's kind of sad how few sauropod skulls we have.
It is.
Especially since we named some groups of sauropods on the basis of skull features like macronarians.
So those wisdom teeth come in the back, and just like braces move your teeth because they're floating in your gums, those back molars, the wisdom teeth, that push all your teeth toward the front, covering up the blank space from some of those teeth that were knocked out or rotted out as you grew up. And now,
okay, I know people who are missing teeth and were missing teeth from before their wisdom teeth came in, and whose wisdom teeth did not close that gap. One of them is one of my brothers who just didn't have one of his adult teeth. It just didn't grow, right?
Okay.
And his wisdom teeth did nothing to fix that. In fact, for a while, he had a little like prosthesis that was basically like a tooth backed with like wire that he could put up into his, tooth row that would slot into that spot. And I don't think he still has it, and he hasn't replaced it, so he just has a gap there, right? And his wisdom teeth didn't do a damn thing to help with that at all. Some later on, I think he's thinking about getting like braces to help close it. But if the wisdom teeth would do it, he wouldn't need those braces. So I'm gonna need some citations on the whole. Oh yeah, your wisdom teeth come in and they just fill in some gaps. Don't worry about it, because I've met people where that's just not true. Lieutenant Math Navigator for $5 says sauropod skulls were actually made of the same materials as Starfleet consoles. Oh, so they were just always sparking and blowing up. Okay. I still feel like Starfleet needs to be introduced to this thing called the fuse. And that if Starfleet used fuses, they would have fewer casualties. Because, I don't know if you guys know this, but if a fuse blows, it interrupts the current, and then the thing downstream of that doesn't catch on fire. Especially since fuses are usually filled with some insulating material that fills in the gap where the fuse blew. Usually it's sand, right? So, yeah, I don't know. Starfleet, put in some damn fuses in your control panels. What the hell?
now you have a nice looking smile to attract a decent mate.
Okay, I'm going to take a drink. I'm just going to take a drink. Okay. I can basically guarantee you that people did not have lots of problems attracting mates in the ancient past as a result of being having a tooth missing. And I know this because a missing tooth was pretty much pervasive, which meant that all your options were basically people missing teeth for the most part, unless you were maybe perhaps fabulously wealthy such that you could eat very, very soft foods. And yet people still managed to reproduce. Right. So, yeah, I don't think that this was the big barrier to getting a mate. And I'm getting flashbacks to Ian Juby, who seems to think that the intromittent organ on a male needs to fit like a lock and key into the reproductive tract of the female, despite himself belonging to a species where that's just not true. Like, I know people who have fertility problems, and I'm assuming you do too, Jackson.
Yep. Yeah.
Are you aware of any cases where it doesn't fit is the reason for their fertility problems with a pair of humans?
No.
Yeah.
Can't say that I.
It's a pretty uncommon. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's pretty uncommon.
We needed those teeth by that time, and you learn from the pain it hurt when you broke a tooth or a tooth came out or pulled out or fell out. You took care of your teeth a little better.
No, you didn't take care of your teeth a little better because you didn't have toothbrushes and toothpaste or anything. You took care of your teeth worse. But like, okay, whatever.
And didn't injure them as much.
It's like this guy is just completely unaware of archaeology of like the ancient world. Like, people had horrible teeth in the ancient past. after the rise of agriculture. Agriculture was murder on human teeth. Like, jeez, I'm taking another drink. That might be one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. You took so much better care of your teeth in the past. Lieutenant Math Navigator for $5 says, fun fact, 0 British people reproduced over the course of the 20th century. Oh, correct. That is in fact accurate. Only the queen could reproduce because she was the one who laid all the eggs for the colony.
Blind cavefish is another thing
Pictured, not a blind cavefish, but okay.
that they'll use. They use the tonsils. They say the adenoids. There used to be 100.
He didn't
Sorry?
even like explain the
Nope.
blind cavefish.
Now we're just gonna pass over. Who cares? We don't need to. Yep. Jackson, that's unwelcome nuance.
My bad, G.
Yeah. What is wrong with you thinking we need to explain things to the audience?
Cavefish. Anyway.
Yeah.
80 organs in the 1900s on the list of useless vestigial organs.
Not useless, just vestigial. They're not the same thing. They're still not the same thing. They'll never be the same thing.
Turns out every single one of them, we found out they have a use at some time in your life.
Actually, we haven't found that out because I still don't know what the use is for, say, the ear muscles, which Chuck himself mentioned. I don't know what the use is for the erector pili muscles on humans. I don't know what the use is for the leg bones, not the hip bones on whales. So, like, no. Even if Jackson were right that uselessness is the definition for vestigiality, we still have examples.
And if it has a use at any point in your life cycle, it has a use, and you need
I mean, I would agree with that. That is technically true. We'll take a drink.
it, or you couldn't get through that period of your life cycle. So,
no, because remember, we already established that not all uses are vital for life. That doesn't make them not useful. Didn't he just have a whole big thing about that? That good Jackson?
He did.
Okay, so he's just contradicting himself right here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's fun. I love it when the creations just contradict themselves right in the same or not sentence, but like in the same like paragraph. Great stuff. By the way, there are 2 more videos of this series.
Gravy.
And the other 2 are longer. This is the short one, if I remember correctly.
Well, we'll be at it for a while, won't we?
Which means, no, this is not the end. That was just a clickbait title to try to get you to click on this video.
hopefully that takes a little chunk out of that vestigial organ. There
It doesn't. Not even a little bit.
are no organs that are vestigial, and
Wrong.
they'll try and come
Take a
up with
drink.
some kind of obscure thing that you've never heard about. Trust me, that organ's there for a reason. It always is.
Hey, Jackson. Is being a remnant of evolution a reason for an organ to exist?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. So while he might be right, doesn't help his case. That organ will be there for a reason. Yeah, what if the reason is just evolutionary history? Oh man. Why is he so bad at this? Just from a rhetorical standpoint, not even a science standpoint. Like, it's such an unconvincing case to make. The only reason anyone takes this guy seriously is confirmation bias. I'm convinced. Like, can you think of a better reason?
Nope.
Yeah.
I sure cannot. And like a friend of ours had a direct conversation with this guy and was able to ask him like, hey, these things that you say are wrong. And Charles Jackson just kind of didn't have good responses to anything that our friend brought up.
Shocking.
Okay, let's see. Next. Now, homologous structures. Common structures like our arm and a bird's wing, they'll say it reflects common ancestor, but really it reflects a common function.
So that's like what?
The next thing he put up on screen is 4 different forelimbs with 4 different functions.
Oh my god, what an absolute moron. Like I also the freaking like a bat wing and an insect wing have completely different structures.
And yet the same function.
Wouldn't they have like What?
Why
Wouldn't they
aren't they
have the
homology?
same structure? What? What are we talking about here?
I'm taking a drink.
I'm crashing out right now.
Good, please do. Oh my god.
What?
All right.
What are we talking about?
Look, nope. We're gonna save the insane or homologies about the same function, and then the next slide he's like, oh look at these limbs with different functions. We're gonna save that for next time. We'll be able to have that discussion afterwards, because I am not prepared to have that right now after all this nonsense, launching into that with only like 10 minutes to go on the stream. No, we're not doing that. Fear of floating rock. Why is it cut off? Come on, YouTube, stop cutting off names. Let's see. Fear of floating rocks monger for $2 says, shut up, you're nitpicking, you're wasting my time. Oof. By the way, Will Duffy has seen the comments on that video, and he seems not very happy with people's response to him. I don't know. Good Jackson. Have you seen the stream that I did with Dr. Dino and Will Duffy?
I have not yet. No, I've not been able to.
I would recommend it. It is
Okay.
It is one of my most commented on versus viewed videos on my entire channel.
I saw you were posting some of the comments from it, and they were quite humorous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I am not like giving up hope or anything on Will Duffy, but like a lot of people have noted that might not have been his best showing. And to be fair, he did apologize shortly afterwards for his outburst. So I don't want to sit here and pretend that that didn't happen, because it did, and it's very important. And I think it speaks well of someone when they recognize the degree to which they may have been mistaken or acting inappropriately, and then they come out and apologize.
Sure.
So, you know, but you should watch it.
Okay.
Will Duffy revealed that he is essentially very uninterested in proper methods.
Regarding.
It seems like he's just in general.
Okay.
Methodology
so, like,
doesn't seem to be a thing that
when
interests him.
Erica, like, shows him technical literature and stuff, he's just like, I'm not gonna read that, basically, or
He might, but I feel like he thinks that proper methodology is the least important part of any given paper.
okay, well, that's a little problematic.
Now, I am not saying that he said that explicitly. That is what it seems like based on his
Okay.
outburst during the stream. I could be very wrong. Will, if you watch this and you want to correct me, please do. But that is the impression that I and a lot of other people got, was that he is uninterested in proper methods in a paper, which to me, that's the most important part of a paper.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part that you, like, yeah, when you go to committee, you go to your committee for your paper, I mean, kind of the biggest thing you work on is your methodology, and they're going to grill you the hardest on your methodology, and then of course also the results that you came to. But like, that's kind of the first part, is why did you pick this set of tools with which to address this question?
Because if your methods are trash, then your results are trash, period.
Right. Garbage in, garbage out.
Yep. Even if your results are coincidentally correct, right? That's just correct by fluke, which happens.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Math Navigator for $5 says, I'll go check the nearest butterfly I see for a humorous. Yeah, good luck. Actually, technically you will find them, just not in the wing. You'll find them in the in some of the
and the femur. You'll find the femur.
Yeah, you'll find the femur in the legs, right? Because the names of the insect leg segments are based on tetrapod limb bones, which is weird, but I get it. All right, so Jackson, what do you have coming up that you want people to know about?
That's a great question.
Sure is.
I guess I'll do the humped bladderwort's tail next. That's my next project. The last video I did, which did surprisingly well, was the destruction of American healthcare, which it's topical, so makes sense.
Yeah.
And that video was rough to write.
Yeah.
I had to stop multiple times and go for a walk and be like the picture of the cow standing on the beach. You know, he's in the waves, just kind of staring off.
Staring
Because,
into the
at
middle
mul-
distance.
Yeah, because at multiple points during that script, I was like, wow, things are kind of irreparable. Like, given the current system,
Yeah.
the degree to which our healthcare system is screwed and that we as a species are screwed given our current system, there's kind of nothing we can do about it. Things have to change on a pretty radical scale for us to achieve the health gains necessary to undo the the flatlining that our health has been doing, like our longevity and things like that. Because in case you guys didn't know, the U.S. is the only first world country whose gains in longevity have been decoupled from GDP growth. We are the only one.
Yikes.
And the only other country in like recent history, the only other major country in recent history that did that was the Soviet Union immediately prior to breaking apart.
Oh, good.
So, so yes, that's not cool. So I talk about like why climate change is killing people, and how inequality kills people, and how the administration's killing people, and yeah, and so I talk about all that. And then the Hump Bladderwort will be a much lighter video talking about what is your genome doing, what is most of it doing, and how
Nothing.
do we know? Yeah, and I hope I hope that the Discovery Institute writes an article about it or something. Speaking of the Discovery Institute, first Dapper and I will be on my channel on Thursday talking again to Craig Swanson. We'll be debating or discussing whatever with him again, and we are crossing our fingers that there's no more technical issues. And then next Wednesday, I'll be going on with Dan Stern Cardinal to discuss a brand spanking new paper
Yay.
on late Ediacaran fossils that include not just bilaterians, but good church-going stem ambulacrarians
Ooh, that's good to hear.
in the Ediacaran,
All right,
which is the first time we've ever seen this.
awesome. We got a couple super chats. My Infinite Journey for $6.66 says, "Hail Nero, hail Daps, and good Jacks, and hail good methodology." Thank you very much. Oh, and there's a Vist emoji. And then for $2, my unfinished name cut off. Thanks, YouTube. Let's see. What is? Oh, it's not going to show me. My Unfinished Journey, which is what it normally is, says, "Don't dismiss methodology. Like and share instead," with a winky tongue out emoji. All right. What's coming up here? So, tomorrow, I don't think I have anything tomorrow. Wednesday? I mean, I think I have something, but I don't think it's on the channel. I don't think it's like super live. Do I have anything tomorrow? I feel like I might have something tomorrow. I don't know. Check around. Thursday, like Jackson said, I'll be on his channel, but also before that at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, I will be premiering the final video in the Jay Seegert series, which is called DNA Isn't a Language. So yeah, Jay Seegert is going to try to tell us just how much like a language DNA is, and no, it's not. Then on Friday, we will be doing, we're actually going to be running Trader's Hymn, which is the adventure from the starter set for Wrath and Glory. Landon Knoll will be there, Manya will be there, Zerulon will be there, and Metageeky will be there, and I will be there. I will be the GM, and we have, if I remember correctly, we have Zerulon as the Space Marine Scout. We have Metageeky as our Skitarius. We have Manya as our Psyker. And Landon is playing a somewhat disgraced rogue trader who is trying to get her reputation and wealth back. Yeah, come check that out. It is a brand new role-playing game for me, as well as for all the players. None of us have played or run it. So that will be at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Saturday, we will be back with Vishanti and Kip, as far as I know. We're going to be, again, looking at the wild linguistic claims of one Ammon Hillman, who thinks that Hebrew is actually a conlang that was created by Greek-speaking Jews pretend that their scriptures were older, I guess. I don't know. And then next Tuesday will be Kent with Bent. So come hang out for that. And that is what we got. I'm going to be streaming some Star Trek Enterprise to my Discord after this. So if that is something that interests you, come hang out for that. And I guess the last things I have to say are ICE must be abolished. And apparently it is now a federal felony to say 8647. So 8647, come get me, Secret Service.
Just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above.
Siloof, Ben Tovind, Tapioca Weasel, Mikau Dominiak, Sammy LaFleur, Edwin M., Kenneth Swenson, John Ackerman, Sphincter of Doom, Regios, Landon Knoll, Ian Chen, Eleron Teller, Phil Rivara, David Hercules, Joshua Geese, Dan Sheedy, Pegajace, The Plastic Mouse, Gordon Loves Science, Amber Athelian, Prixie Purple, Agricola Sequa, and Me, Myself, and I.
It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 15% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.